Hello. I had some technical difficulties with the recording of the week two meeting, so I'm just going to record this again. Showing me go through the summative assessment exercise. So, we're in week two. Go down here, click on the link, view the assessment. First thing you want to do is um, open the guide. Those are the instructions. So that's a download. If you don't see it in Chrome, at least the way I have it set up, I see the download immediately, and then I can click on that and it opens. If you don't see that, just go to your downloads folder. It should be there. So open it as a Word document, and I'm going to bring it up to the side so I can share the screen. I'm having trouble clicking on it. Okay, there we go. Windows is not cooperating very well with me right now. There we go. All right, that's what I wanted. All right, there's the instructions. Now it'll tell you to visit the States of Matter basic simulation. The link is right here. So I've clicked on that. It says click on phase changes from the home screen. So I'll do that. Make sure you click on the correct part of the simulation. A lot of students last week clicked on this by default, and they should have clicked on the states portion of the simulation. So they ended up doing the wrong exercise. So anyway, this is what you should be doing in week two. This is the simulation as it should appear for you when you start out. From the atoms and molecules menu at the top right, select neon. Well, we've already selected it by default, so no problem there. Go on down. Note the reading on the thermometer and the pressure sensor. I have a little window in my way. Okay, so note the reading on the thermometer and pressure sensor. So there it is. I'm not going to say it. You can see it with your own eyes. I want to see that in your essay. Say something like, I started the states of matter simulation. I ran the phase changes portion of the simulation. I selected neon, and the initial temperature was what it says here and what the pressure is, okay? Now it says push the lid of the container down so there's less space in the container. Observe and note what happens to the temperature and pressure. Note you will need to place your mouse on the finger and use your mouse to move the finger up and down. Keep moving the finger until you see changes. So I'm moving it down, and do I see any changes in temperature or pressure yet? I'll let you answer that question. But now as I get close to the surface of the sample, when I make contact with the sample, note what starts to happen. Okay, there's qualitative things, what are the atoms doing? And there's quantitative things, what's going on with the temperature and the pressure. There we go. So, write down what you've seen. Then it says reset the simulation, so click on the orange button there to reset it. Note the reading on the thermometer and pressure sensor. So again, where are we after we reset it? We're going to add more particles to the container by pumping the pump on the left of the screen. Observe and note what happens to the temperature and pressure as you add more particles. To use the pump, you will need to place your mouse on top of the pump, move it up and down, just like a real pump. You'll see additional particles moving into the container when you do this. So I'm pumping, and you see particles going into the container. Pay attention to temperature and pressure. Okay, I see some things changing. I'm not going to tell you what, and make a note when it starts changing and what's happening inside the container as you add more particles. Obviously, you're seeing more particles, but other things are happening, right? So report what you're seeing. Once you've done that, reset the simulation. It says cool the container by clicking and holding the slider to cool. This is like in the first simulation that you did last week. Continue to cool it until the thermometer reaches lowest possible reading. Observe that reading. So cool it down. I'm not going to wait till it gets the lowest possible reading. I'll leave that to you, and you tell me what you observe. So remember, it says note the pressure and temperature at the coolest setting. So give me numbers, okay, what they are. Now heat the container by clicking the slider to heat. Continue to heat the sample until the thermometer reaches the highest possible reading. Observe the highest reading and pay attention to the changes in the motion of the molecules as you see this. Note the pressure and temperature at the hottest setting. So heat this up until you can't heat it anymore. Try to pay attention to what the temperature and pressure were at that highest setting and give me those numbers. Okay, so if you've done all that, the first two parts of the rubric would be in good shape. So open the rubric. These are the things I'm grading you on, so pay attention to them. So I left out some details, but if you add some of those details, then everything it asked for in the first two parts of the rubric, you have accomplished, okay? Now, as you do the simulation, some questions might come to mind about atomic motion, so give me a question and make sure it relates to the simulation. Don't just give me something like, off the wall, like why are black holes called black holes, or something like that. That's not related directly to the simulation. So make it something about atomic motion, relationship of, heat and pressure, temperature, motion, things like that. And then discuss two specific ideas from the reading related to the observations. So you should relate what you're seeing to what you read in chapter 2. And make it clear to me that you're doing that in your essay. So you might start a separate paragraph saying two specific ideas from chapter 2 of our textbook that relate to my observations were the following, and say a little bit about that. Then it says, discuss how the observations relate to developments in the understanding of atomic motion in classical physics. So you could start another paragraph and say, my observations relate to developments in the understanding of atomic motion in classical physics by showing me, and then give me some information about what you saw in the simulation that helped you better understand the description of atomic motion in classical physics. This is use of references. A lot of students ignore this. And I've said it in week 1. I think I said it in the introductory video. I want to see your references. And one of those references would be our textbook. So I want to see at the end of your essay a proper reference to our textbook, giving the author's name, the title of the book. So the author is Richard Feynman, and Ralph Layton also, he was kind of the editor, so his name probably goes there too. And the title of the book, when it was published, who was the publisher, that information, okay? And then the last parts, as long as you paid attention to your spelling and punctuation, wrote complete sentences, you should be fine here. But I suggest reading it out loud to yourself before you submit your essay. Even better if there's somebody else close to you, a friend, family member, partner that you'd like to read it to, read it out loud to them. And that's usually a good way of catching, awkward phrasing, or as you're reading it, you might see a spelling error that you didn't notice before, decide that you need to add a comma or remove a comma, something like that. So that's all. If you do those things, you're almost guaranteed, more than 90% on this assignment.